This is a 35mm lens. This is the Leica Summilux. If you don't know what Summilux means, obviously you're not a golfer. But this is a great lens. Why am I starting here? I don't even know. This is so bad. Okay, so here's the scenario. You just decided to buy your first camera kit, or you have a camera kit and you're looking to buy the next lens. And the conversation that comes up, what's the next lens I should get? And there's debates about this, there's forums about this. I think it's really entertaining, and I thought I would put an end to all of these conversations with this video and settle it once and for all. All right, I'm just kidding. I am going to talk about the two most common focal lengths and why my favorite lens is not one of those two focal lengths. Starting arguably with the most popular focal length is the 50mm. It's the normal lens, right? It's the standard focal length. It's what our eyes are, it's as close to what our eyes are used to seeing. The nifty 50, it's what legends are made of. It's not my first recommendation for a first lens, but that's just my opinion. The 50 feels just a little bit long, at least on the Leica rangefinder. The 50 Summilux, at least a 1.4 50 on the Leica. The one thing I do love about that lens is when you shoot that thing wide open at f1.4 and your subject is, let's say, at least 7 to 10 feet away, and it has this medium format, almost three-dimensionality pop to it, which is why I think it's so cool. I use that for kind of tighter spaces, fashion and portraiture work, and where I do need to remove some of the surroundings by getting in a little bit tighter, and the 50 comes in great. This is a 35mm. This is the 35mm Summilux from Leica. I love this lens. It is so versatile. This is the lens I think I would just take anywhere. If I had like one lens to go somewhere or take a trip, like, well, the gallery behind me was shot, that was a trip in Mexico, and I just brought my, the Leica, what I have, the M11, and just this lens, and I did everything with that. I would encourage the 35 over the 50 just because of how versatile it is. I think you can do portraits with this, you can do landscape, street photography, just about anything with it. That I'm not covering zoom lenses here. I don't have anything against a zoom lens. Just in the context of this conversation, I'm talking about my kit and what I predominantly use. And with Leica, the rangefinder, most of the lenses that are available are going to be fixed focal length. If you like zooms, I mean, the 28 to 70 on some of those camera systems out there are great, especially if you're indecisive, don't want to move your legs and walk closer or further away from the subject. That zoom lens is there for you. All right, so we talked about the 35, the 50. Either one of those lenses would be a great starter. Maybe that's just the one lens that you get and you use for the rest of your life. That would be fantastic. Again, I think the 35 would be a lot better, but if you're a 50 guy, that's cool. I use the 50 quite a bit. It's just not my first or my favorite or my second favorite lens. Okay, the last lens I wanted to mention of the three most common focal lengths, let's bring it out here. This is the 28mm. This one is again, another Summilux from Leica. The 28 is by far my favorite focal length. I use it more than any other lens, even though the 35 is on my camera most of the time, and the 35 is that one lens typically that I take out. The 28mm is this particular lens, this 1.4 Summilux, is my favorite lens. It has so much character. Again, it's fast. The depth of field is unique. It's a boat anchor. This thing is heavy. It's significantly larger and heavier than the 35 Summilux. It's just a lot of glass. So it doesn't stay on the camera as often as I said the 35. If I had their Summicron f1.2, my God. If I had the Summicron f2, which is a smaller lens that's closer to the size of this, if not a little bit smaller, great lens, super sharp. It's more compact, and maybe that would sit on the camera more often. All right, why do I like the 28 so much? Well, the frame lines on the rangefinder are just almost to the edge of the frame. Like what you see is what you get for the most part. It's fast. Focus on it is more forgiving. The character of this lens is insane. But more than anything, the focal length for me is just fits my style. I shoot portraits with this. I do fashion. I do commercial. I'll shoot anything with this lens. You do have to be careful about how you point this lens or how it's angled at your subject or where your subject falls into the frame, simply because of the distortion. What's cool with the 28 for me is that it allows me to get closer to a subject, yet still bring in more of the environmental or more of the surroundings with that subject to tell a story. So let's talk about the focal length selection again, and why 28 is my favorite, but often disliked or not used by many. The 50 is preferred. I see people when they get started with a standard lens, and then I also see people lean towards longer focal lengths. I won't say telephoto. That actually refers to a certain design of a certain lens design, but longer focal lengths. One of the most important things in making a strong photograph is your framing, right? Does the image look good? And half the time you're looking at really, how did you compose the image? The cameras these days, we've got autofocus, you've got auto everything except for making a good picture. That's up to you. The wider the lens you have, the more elements or more surroundings that you're grabbing with that lens, which makes framing really difficult. So I lean towards the 28 just because I like the dynamic and I love that dimension that I get with it, and the ability to include much more of the surroundings with the subject and just getting close. So when you're shooting with like a longer lens and then you're standing like 30 to 50 feet away from the subject, and let's say the subject is not a professional, let's say maybe it's a kid, and you need to interact with the individual. It's so awkward to see someone behind a camera, so you're already completely like guarded or not engaging with the subject, at least personally. Like this, you're behind this camera and then you've got this long lens and you're 30 feet away. I just don't know how you can create a meaningful connection to get the to get this response, reaction, or whatever you're trying to draw from that image or that portrait session. So again, the 28, I can work so much closer and more intimately with the subject, and then have that interaction and get what I need, or pull that string to get the reaction that I want, and I don't have to yell. It's great. All right, now that I've probably pissed off a few people with zoom lenses, thanks for watching. My name is Scott. I am a photographer with a YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button, maybe the subscribe. Can I say subscribe? Take again, catch, try again. And let me know what your favorite lens is and why.
The moment I see you, I melt away. I'm getting higher.